I was in line at the movie theater waiting for my boyfriend when I started getting endless notifications on my phone. I opened my Instagram and saw my sister-in-law going live. It was just a regular Thursday. I was standing in line at the Alameda Theater, waiting for Lucas, my boyfriend of 3 years, to see the movie he'd been so insistent on watching. I was happy, excited, thinking that we'd finally have a moment just for ourselves after weeks of not seeing each other because of work. While I waited, my phone started vibrating nonstop. At first, I ignored it. After a few minutes, the notifications kept coming, one after another. I thought it might be something important from work, so I decided to check. When I unlocked the screen, my heart froze. It was my sister-in-law, Mia, going live on Instagram. The title read, "The big moment is here." I opened the live stream, not fully understanding what was happening. The image was a little shaky as Mia moved around. She was at a place I knew well, the Italian restaurant where I had my first date with Lucas. And there he was, on one knee in front of my best friend Sophia, holding a small red velvet box. "Sophia, you're the love of my life. Will you marry me?" My knees buckled. The line at the theater kept moving around me, but I was paralyzed. People were commenting live with heart emojis and clapping hands. So sweet. Finally, they were made for each other. Sophia was crying as she said yes and jumped into his arms. Mia was squealing with joy, and me. I was there, alone, holding a movie ticket, watching my world collapse through my phone screen. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal, it was realizing that everyone knew. The comments made it clear. I knew they'd end up together. You could see the chemistry at that party. Even Mia, who always told me I was the right woman for her brother, was there, celebrating. My legs gave out, and I had to sit on the floor. An older woman approached me worried. "Miss, are you okay?" I couldn't answer. Tears streamed down my face as I stayed hypnotized by my phone screen, watching Lucas and Sophia kiss, surrounded by friends cheering them on. I recognized several faces in the crowd congratulating them. People who came to my house, who had dinner with Lucas and me on weekends, who hugged me and said we were the perfect couple. They were all there, celebrating their engagement, while I found out in the worst way possible that I had been living a lie. My phone kept vibrating with new notifications. Messages started pouring in. "Julia, I'm sorry, I wanted to tell you..." "Hey, are you okay?" I turned off the phone. I didn't want to read anything else, didn't want to see anything else. I stood up with difficulty and stumbled out of the mall. The security guard at the entrance asked if I needed help, but I just shook my head. I got into the first taxi I saw and gave the address to my house. On the way, memories started fitting together like pieces of a cruel puzzle. The late-night work meetings, the business trips that increased in the last few months, the way Sophia always changed the subject when I talked about marriage. It all made sense now. I spent the entire night in the darkness of my room, curled up on the bed, scrolling through old photos on my phone. Each image felt like a stab to the heart. In all of them, Sophia was there. Birthdays, graduations, trips. She was always smiling by our side, hugging me, being my best friend since college. At the last New Year's party, Sophia insisted on taking a photo with just me. "You're more than a friend, you're my sister," she said. Now I wonder if, at that moment, she was already with Lucas. If they were already planning this cruel ending while I smiled innocently for the camera. The memories began to come together like pieces of a painful puzzle. 3 months ago, Lucas started working late more often. "The project's intense," he'd say. Coincidentally, Sophia changed her gym schedule. She couldn't work out with me anymore because she had work issues to handle in the evening. I remembered the last time I saw her, 2 weeks ago. Sophia seemed different, restless. She kept glancing at her phone and avoided looking me in the eye. "I need to tell you something," she started, but we got interrupted by a call from her work. Now I know what she wanted to say. The worst part was the little details that began to surface. How did I not notice when Lucas started dressing up more to go to work? When did he start going to the gym at the same time as Sophia? The texts he hid, the calls he took in the bathroom, the meetings on weekends. Mia called me several times, but I didn't answer. She, who claimed to be my friend, who had lunch at my house every Sunday, was there filming everything, complicit in this humiliation. At the last family lunch, she insisted I skip the movies that day. "Let's have a girls' night," she suggested. Now I know why. In the early hours of the morning, exhausted from crying, I started receiving messages from other friends. Julia, don't look at Marcella's stories. Too late. I opened them and saw photos of the celebration at the bar after the proposal. Lucas and Sophia were in the center, hugging, surrounded by our mutual friends. Everyone was smiling, toasting to the cutest couple. The caption on the photo hurt the most. The secret's finally out. After 8 months of hiding this love, our lovebirds can finally live their fairy tale. Lucas and Sophia, true love. 8 months. While I was planning our life together, they were building theirs behind my back. In one of the photos, I noticed something strange. In the bar's mirror reflection, Lucas was hugging Sophia, but his gaze was fixed on another woman. A woman in a red dress I'd never seen before. She wasn't smiling like the others. In fact, she looked uncomfortable, almost scared. I saved the photo and zoomed in. There was something familiar about her, something in her eyes that intrigued me. Just then, I received a message from an unknown number. Julia, you don't know me, but we need to talk. You're not the only one Lucas has deceived. My heart raced. This message would change everything I thought I knew about Lucas, Sophia, and the last 3 years of my life. The truth I was about to discover was much worse than just a simple betrayal. I hesitated for several minutes before replying to the message. What if it was a trap? Another humiliation? But something inside me told me to take the risk. I replied with a simple, "Where?" The response came immediately. San Martin Plaza, tomorrow at 9, near the fountain benches. My name is Isabel. I'll be wearing the same red dress from the photo. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind wouldn't stop creating scenarios, theories, explanations. By 8:30, I was already at the park, sitting on a bench away from the main path. The cool morning air did nothing to calm my nerves. At exactly 9, I saw her approaching. Isabel was beautiful, but she looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes and the expression of someone carrying a heavy burden. She sat next to me, and without hesitation pulled a folder from her purse. First of all, Julia, I need you to know this isn't easy for me. I debated contacting you, but when I saw the proposal on Instagram, I couldn't stay silent. I can't let another woman go through what I went through. While people walked by, unaware of our conversation, Isabel opened the folder and started pulling out documents. Photos, printed messages, legal records. Lucas isn't who he says he is. This isn't the first time he's done this. I was his girlfriend and his fiancée. My stomach churned. Isabel continued. We met 2 years ago at a work conference. He was charming, attentive, the perfect man. He proposed to me after 6 months. He even bought a ring, the same ring he gave Sophia yesterday. What? But 2 years ago, he was with me, I interrupted, confused. Exactly. Lucas maintained multiple relationships at the same time. I found out the worst way. After getting engaged, I started noticing small inconsistencies in his stories. One day, I decided to follow him, and I saw him with you at a restaurant, acting exactly the same way he did with me. The wind rustled the leaves as Isabel pulled out more photos. Lucas with different women in different cities. The same pattern every time. Successful, independent women with good jobs. He's not just a womanizer, Isabel explained. He's an emotional con artist. He targets women who can support him, builds a perfect relationship, and then... And then what? I asked, already fearing the answer. Then he starts asking for loans. Small ones at first. A family emergency here, a car problem there. It escalates gradually. By the time the woman realizes, she's lost thousands. In my case, it was nearly 50 grand. My world stopped. I remembered all the times Lucas had asked me for money, the problems with his credit card, the loan to help his sister Mia with the down payment on an apartment. Mia, I whispered. His sister. Isabel smiled bitterly. Mia isn't his sister. She's his accomplice. She pretends to be family to make his stories more believable. They've scammed over 10 women in the last 5 years. I stood up, needing space to breathe. I took a few steps toward the fountain, trying to process everything. When I turned back, Isabel had laid out more documents. There's more, she said softly. Sophia isn't an innocent victim in all this. She's new to the scheme, but she's part of it. They chose her specifically because she was your best friend. They knew that would completely destroy you. The tears started falling uncontrollably. It wasn't just Lucas's betrayal. It was Sophia, Mia, my entire life for the last 3 years. Why are you telling me this? I managed to ask between sobs. Because they're planning something big. The public proposal, the perfect love story. It's all part of a bigger plan. They're going to use your story, the betrayed ex-girlfriend, to gain sympathy. Then they'll start asking for money for the wedding, a wedding that will never happen. Isabel pulled out one final photo. It was a group of women, all with serious expressions. We're the survivors of Lucas. We meet every month in different places. Some lost their life savings, others their homes. All of us lost our trust in people, but together, we've been working to stop him. How? I asked, feeling a mix of rage and determination growing inside me. We have a plan, but we need your help. You're the only one who can get close to them without raising suspicion, the only one who can expose the truth before they ruin more lives. I looked at the documents scattered across the bench. Photos of Lucas with different women, records of bank transfers, police reports dismissed for lack of evidence. It all fit perfectly. What do you need me to do? I asked, my voice steadier than ever. Isabel smiled for the first time since she arrived. First, you need to understand exactly how their operation works. Then, we're going to give them a taste of their own medicine. At that moment, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Sophia. Julia, please, we need to talk. Let me explain everything. Can we meet tonight? I looked at Isabel, who nodded slightly. Say yes, she said. It's time we turn the tables. The next few hours were an emotional roller coaster. Isabel introduced me to the rest of the group through a group video call. There were 6 women in total, all with similar stories. Maria lost her house. Diana, her 10 years of savings. Patricia had to sell her car to cover debts Lucas left in her name. Don't meet Sophia at your house, Patricia warned. That's part of their strategy. They choose private places so there are no witnesses to their conversations. We agreed to meet in Central Park, near the busiest area. When I arrived, Sophia was already there, but she wasn't alone. Mia was with her, both wearing perfectly rehearsed worried expressions. Julia, please listen to us, Sophia began, her eyes full of tears. I know this looks horrible, but love can't be controlled. It just happened. I remembered Isabel's advice. Let them talk. We need to hear their version of the story. I stayed silent, watching them build their theater. Lucas and I tried to stop it, Sophia continued. We fought these feelings for months, but every time we saw each other at work, I interrupted. Sophia, you work in digital marketing. Lucas is an architect. What work did you share? I saw a flicker of panic in her eyes before Mia jumped in. At my company, Sophia was handling our social media account. Remember? Lucas was supervising the project. A lie. I handled the social media accounts for the construction firm. It was my main client. But I didn't say anything. Each lie they told was more proof of their deceit. Julia, Sophia took my hands. I know we hurt you, but Lucas and I want to do things right now. That's why we made it public. No more secrets, no more lies. And when did these feelings start? I asked, pretending to be vulnerable. A few months ago, she answered quickly. Maybe 3 or 4, 8, Mia corrected. It was 8 months ago at my birthday party. I saw irritation flash in Sophia's eyes. They hadn't coordinated their lies properly. Isabel had warned me about this. They always made mistakes when improvising. 8 months, I repeated softly. The party where Lucas announced we were moving in together? The silence that followed was telling. Mia coughed awkwardly, and Sophia paled slightly. Julia, Mia tried to change the subject. We know this is hard, but Lucas wants to make things right. The wedding is in 2 months and— 2 months? I interrupted. So soon? Well, Sophia hesitated. We already have everything planned. In fact, she lowered her voice. We wanted to ask you something special. She pulled an envelope from her purse. Inside was an elegant, expensive wedding invitation. My name was written in golden calligraphy, Julia Martinez, Maid of Honor. You want me to be your maid of honor? I asked, incredulous. It would be a symbol of forgiveness, Mia explained, showing the world there are no hard feelings. Plus, the local press is already interested in covering the wedding. It'll be the event of the year. Press. Media coverage. It fit perfectly with what Isabel had said. They wanted to turn this into a public spectacle to attract more potential victims. I need time to think, I finally said. Of course, Sophia smiled. But don't take too long. We need to start with the preparations. Actually, she whispered, we're having some trouble with the vendors. The deposits are higher than we expected. There it was, the first attempt to ask for money. How much do you need? I asked. Not much, Mia jumped in. Maybe $15,000 to secure the main services. Lucas is a bit short this month because of the ring. I'll think about it, I replied, standing up. This is a lot to process. They hugged me, pretending to understand and care. As I walked away, I heard Sophia say, "I knew she'd understand. Julia's always been so kind." That night, I met with Isabel and the other women in a safe apartment. I showed them the invitation and told them about the conversation. "They're speeding things up," Maria observed. "Usually they wait longer before asking for money." "They're desperate," Diana added. "Their last 2 scam attempts failed because the victims were warned in time." "What now?" I asked. Isabel smiled. "Now comes the interesting part. Remember William, the photographer I mentioned? It's time for you to meet him. He has something you'll find very interesting." "What is it?" "Evidence," Isabel replied. "Proof that Lucas and Mia aren't siblings. Proof of their previous scams. And most importantly, proof that Sophia isn't his only current fiancé." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" "Lucas is engaged to 3 different women right now. Sophia is just the most public one. The other 2 are in nearby cities, and none of them know about each other. At least not until now." A plan began to form in my mind. If we were going to expose them, it needed to be spectacular. And what better moment than at their own wedding? "Except being the maid of honor," Isabel said, reading my thoughts. "It's time for Lucas and his little group of scammers to learn that you don't mess with women." My phone vibrated again. It was a message from Lucas. "Julia, I know you're hurt, but you mean so much to me and Sophia. Please be part of our special day. I promise you'll understand everything when we see each other." I looked at the women around me, all united by the same pain, the same betrayal. It was time for the truth to come out. "I'll reply tomorrow," I said. "Tonight we have a plan to perfect." The next 2 months were a masterclass in acting. I became the perfect maid of honor, helping with every detail, smiling at dress fittings, organizing the bachelorette party. Sophia was thrilled, convinced she had manipulated the situation in her favor. Lucas and Mia relaxed, believing their plan was working perfectly. In total, they asked me for almost $30,000 for the wedding preparations. Each time I transferred the money, William documented everything, building a solid case piece by piece. The day of the wedding arrived. The most exclusive venue in the city was decorated spectacularly. White flowers everywhere, crystals, candles, all paid for with their victims' money. As the maid of honor, I arrived early to help Sophia get ready. In the bridal suite, while the other bridesmaids were busy with her makeup, I received the message I had been waiting for. "Everyone is in position." "Sophia," I said sweetly, "Lucas asked me to give you this before the ceremony." I handed her an envelope with her name on it. "A love letter? How romantic!" she exclaimed, opening the envelope. Her smile vanished as she saw the contents. They were photos. Photos of Lucas at another wedding just a week ago, in a neighboring city. Photos of him with another woman, promising her the same forever love. Bank records showing the transfers from all his victims. What is this?" she whispered, her face turning pale. "The truth," I answered calmly, "and there's more." At that moment, the door opened. Isabel entered, followed by Maria, Diana, Patricia, and the others. All dressed elegantly, blending in as just more wedding guests. "Who are you?" Sophia asked, backing away. "We're the other fiancés," Isabel said. "The ones who came before you, the ones Lucas scammed, used, and discarded. And we're not alone." The door opened again, and this time, 2 more women entered. Lucia and Carmen, Lucas's other current fiancés. One had gotten engaged to him the previous week. The other had a wedding planned for the following week. "No, this can't be." Sophia sank into a chair. "Lucas loves me. This is a lie." "Like the lies you told me for 8 months?" I asked. "Like the lie that Mia is his sister?" Just then, William walked in with a folder. "I have the results of the genealogical research. Mia and Lucas aren't related. They're professional scammers who have been doing this for years." Sophia started crying, but not from sadness. It was rage. "He promised me. He said this time was different, that we'd retire after this last scam." "Last scam?" I repeated. "Sophia, he scammed you too. Where do you think the money for your engagement ring came from? From Patricia selling her car? And your wedding dress? From Maria's life savings." The door opened one last time. Mia walked in, her face pale as a ghost. "The police are here," she whispered. Lucas tried to run, but they caught him in the parking lot." "The police?" Sophia looked at me in horror. "Yes," I confirmed. We all filed reports, with evidence this time. William has been documenting everything for months. The transfers, the multiple engagements, the scam scheme, everything. The next few minutes were controlled chaos. The police came into the room taking statements. Guests started whispering as they saw Lucas being escorted out in handcuffs. Sophia, through tears, confessed everything. How Lucas convinced her to be part of the scheme, promising her a life of luxury. How Mia coordinated everything, carefully selecting their victims. Why me? I finally asked, when it was just the two of us. Out of all the people, why betray your best friend? She looked at me, defeated. Because you were perfect. You had money, connections, a good heart. Lucas said you'd be our best con, the final hit that would let us retire. And you really thought he'd stay with you? Before she could answer, Isabel entered with her phone. Look at this. It was a video from the week before. Lucas with another woman, at another hotel, planning another wedding. This was recorded after he proposed to you. Sophia, while he was telling you that you were the love of his life, he was planning his next scam. Sophia broke down completely. Her entire world of lies was collapsing before her eyes. I walked out of the bridal suite feeling a strange mix of sadness and liberation. In the hall, guests were starting to leave, murmuring about the scandal. Isabel caught up to me. Are you okay? She asked. No, I answered honestly. But I will be. We all will be. As we walked out, I saw Lucas in the back of a police car. Our eyes met for a brief moment. There was no regret in his eyes, just rage at being caught. You know what's ironic? I said to Isabel as we walked away. This all started because he stood me up at the movies, and it ended in another show, but this time, we wrote the ending. 3 years have passed since that day. Sometimes, when I look back, it feels like a movie I watched a long time ago. Other times, the memories are so vivid that I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins as if it were yesterday. Life twists and turns in ways that make it hard to recognize the woman I was back then. Lucas's case became one of the biggest romantic fraud scandals in the country. The investigation revealed that he and Mia had been operating for nearly a decade, leaving a trail of broken hearts and empty bank accounts in 5 different cities. What started as a simple complaint ended up exposing a web of lies that stretched across the nation. During the trial, which lasted almost 8 months, each day brought a new revelation more shocking than the last. The police found meticulous records in Mia's apartment. They had everything documented. Profiles of potential victims, manipulation strategies, calendars of fake weddings. It was a business for them, a very lucrative one. In total, they had scammed over $500,000 from different women. Mia turned out to be the real mastermind behind it all. Her testimony revealed a surprising story. She met Lucas when he tried to scam her. Instead of falling for his trap, she saw potential in him and proposed a partnership. For years, she planned every move while Lucas played the role of the perfect boyfriend. They had everything calculated. How long to dedicate to each victim, how much money to ask for, when to disappear. Mia's sentence was especially harsh, 15 years in prison with no chance of early parole. In her final statement to the judge, she finally showed remorse. Greed blinded me, she said. I turned other people's pain into a business and lost my humanity in the process. Lucas, on the other hand, received 12 years. His behavior during the trial only made things worse for him. He tried to manipulate the jury, changed his story multiple times, and even blamed his victims for being too naive. The judge's final remarks were particularly severe. You didn't just steal money, Mr. Reed. You stole trust, hope, and the ability to love freely. Those are crimes no sentence can fully compensate for. Sophia's case was unique. Her cooperation with the authorities was key to dismantling the whole operation. She revealed details that even the police hadn't discovered, including other victims in different cities. She received a reduced sentence of 3 years, with 2 on probation. The last time I saw Sophia was during her sentencing hearing. She had lost that confident spark that always defined her. She looked at me from the stand with tear-filled eyes and said something I'll never forget. The worst punishment isn't prison. It's knowing I betrayed the only person who was always there for me, all for a lie. 6 months ago, I received a letter from Sophia. She had moved to a new city and was working at a rehabilitation center, helping former inmates reintegrate into society. Her letter was different from the ones before. She didn't ask for forgiveness or seek redemption. She just wanted me to know that my strength had inspired her to be a better person. Sometimes I think about that night at the movie theater, she wrote, how your life fell apart in minutes. But I also think about how you got back up, how you turned your pain into strength. I wish I had half your courage. Every day, I work to become someone you could be proud of, even if we'll never be friends again. Isabel became more than just an ally in this story. After the trial, she left her job in finance and studied law. Now she specializes in romantic fraud cases and has helped dozens of women get justice. Every time I win a case, she tells me, it feels like we all win. Patricia completely transformed her life. With the money she recovered from the civil lawsuit against Lucas and Mia, even though it was just a fraction of what she lost, she opened a consultancy specializing in fraud prevention. She gives talks at universities and companies, sharing her story to prevent others from falling into similar traps. Maria, who lost her house in Lucas's scheme, now runs a temporary housing program for women who have been victims of similar scams. Sometimes you need a safe place to rebuild yourself, she often says. Her program has helped over 50 women regain their independence. Diana, our tech genius, developed an app that went viral. TrustCheck helps verify social media profiles and detect suspicious behavior patterns. It has already prevented hundreds of potential fraud cases. Every scam we prevent is a victory, she says proudly. The foundation we created, Survivors United, has become a national reference in the fight against romantic fraud. We offer legal advice, psychological support, and, most importantly, a community of women who understand and support each other. Every month, we receive new cases, and while it's painful to see so many victims, it's comforting to know we can help them. William, the photographer who documented everything, became an invaluable ally. His work now focuses on capturing stories of survival and recovery. Images have power, he says. They can show both pain and healing. 2 weeks ago, something happened that closed a full circle. I was giving a talk at the same mall where everything began. After the presentation, a young woman approached me, trembling. She was Mia's younger sister. She told me she had been following our work since her sister's arrest. I want to help, she said. I want to use my experience to prevent other families from being destroyed like mine. She's now part of our prevention team, sharing red flags from the perspective of someone who saw a fraud operation grow from the inside. The Alameda Movie Theater is still there, a constant reminder. Last week, I organized a special screening there. We showed a documentary about survivors of romantic fraud. The room was filled with strong women, some still wounded, others in the process of healing, all connected by a shared experience. Lucas tried to contact me from prison several times. He wanted to explain his side of the story. I never replied. His words have no power over me anymore. The last letter I received from him, I donated to the police museum, where it's part of an exhibit on romantic fraud. His story now serves as a warning to others. A month ago, I got news that made me smile. The company where Lucas pretended to work as an architect created a fund to help fraud victims. They asked me to be the director of the program. It's poetic, in a way, that the place he used for his lies now helps his victims. My personal life has also flourished, though in ways I never expected. I met Alex at one of our fraud prevention workshops. He's a psychologist who works with trauma survivors. Our relationship grew slowly, built on honesty and patience. He taught me that it's possible to love again, that trust can be rebuilt. Sometimes, when I pass by the Alameda Theater, I no longer feel that knot in my stomach. Instead, I feel gratitude. Gratitude for having survived, for finding my true strength, for turning betrayal into triumph. Gratitude for all the incredible women who are now part of my life. The other day, Alex asked me if I'd ever thank Lucas for being the catalyst for all this change in my life. I thought for a moment before answering, you don't thank the poison for making you stronger. You thank your own resilience, the people who helped you survive, and life for giving you a second chance. Now, when I buy a movie ticket, I no longer think about betrayal or deception. I think about all the women we've helped, the lives we've changed, and the strength we found together. Lucas tried to destroy us individually, but he unintentionally created an army of women who refused to be victims. And maybe that's the best revenge of all. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We didn't just recover, we helped others recover. We didn't just overcome the trauma, we turned it into purpose. The woman who naively waited for her boyfriend at the movies no longer exists. In her place stands a warrior, a survivor, a leader. And best of all, she's not alone. She has an army of sisters by her side, all equally strong, all equally determined to make the world safer for the women who come after us. They say the best revenge is a life well lived, but I say the best revenge is turning your pain into the power to help others. Lucas is in prison, but we are truly free. And that freedom, that strength, that purpose, that's the sweetest victory of all.